Hello everyone, KosakChess here, and on today's video, I am going to change a format a little bit because today you are going to see a recap of two games in once. Why I do so? Uh, well, as you can see the title, 150 moves has been played if we sum up the total number of moves of these two games. And I decided to not make this film the most boring on chess YouTube ever. To make a quick recap, we will go through the most important and the most crucial parts of each game, and I will also show you the, let's say, some theoretical positions which took part in both of endgames, because one game lasted 70 moves, the another one 80. So in both games we occurred endgames. I also turned on engine, so I hope that this analysis will make uh, well will be more pleasant to watch for you. In the morning round, I played against the woman international master from Kazakhstan, Alua Nurman, who was recently Nurmanova, but for some reason she changed her surname. I don't know why, but okay, it doesn't really matter. We played the Sicilian, and she surprised me with this move Bishop F4, because after Knight C3 I was familiar with this position. I can maybe play Taimanov, I can maybe play Paulsen, I can play this four-knight variation. I have played everything, every of this variation, but Bishop F4 was a surprise of me. Yeah, but as I told you, it doesn't really matter. We played a normal moves in the openings. Both sides were developing pieces and so on and so on. I defended a pawn, and I believe that in this position, oh yeah, after the move h3, we got a normal position because both sides developed all the light pieces, and white doesn't have any particular problems. But also in my position, I can't really find a weakness. But after the yesterday's draw, I knew that today I really, really want to win this game, and that's why I played this a little bit risky, maybe unnecessary, but the move g5, which during the game it made a lot of sense to me to open the position, because I understood that if nothing particular happens in the center, I can push on king side, and I hope that it will work. After bishop g5, I prepared this bishop h3 idea. After gh3, rook g8, h4, and queen h3, and taking the pawn on h4 is unstoppable, and then I can take the bishop on g5, and with h and g file opened, I am winning for sure. But I went for the variation. I sacrificed the pawn and played queen f5, hoping that maybe I can use a g file, put the rook there, then maybe queen h5, knight g4 ideas, intending to play queen h2. But she played an amazing resourceful move, knight d5, which I missed. She played it like after 2 minutes of thinking. And the sad thing about this move is that everything works for her. I took the bishop on f3. Well, I was calculating, of course, knight d5 as the first move. But after the exchanges, I exchanged two of my potential attackers. So this variation, of course, isn't that promising. I was also calculating some ideas like rook g8, putting directly the rook on the g file, and just to check what she can do. She can react pretty easily. Knight takes e7, and after bishop f3, just take the queen, knight f5, rook g2, king f1, bishop c6, and rook d6. This was the thing I calculated. Two pieces are hanging. I can't protect both, so I am losing the material. Also, after knight e7, I was calculating queen h5 with the idea of bishop f3, but she can just chop one of the rook, escape with the king, and I am rook down with no potential attack in the future. So after knight d5, I was forced to take on f3, and if I want to prolong this game, I just played queen e6 and queen e7, and I went for a position where I am pawn down. I exchanged this light square bishop, I exchanged my dark square bishop, so I lost my bishop pair, and I lost two potential attackers. She's pawn up. She has a weakness on d6. She can make a free pawn on c5. I knew that in this moment it is already over. Bishop g5. So she's intending to take on f6. Of course, she has an advantage, so that's why she's exchanging pieces. I played rook a8. I moved the rook because I want to take the knight back with the rook, but I can't do it because of that the rook is hanging. Rook a8 and queen f5. Really annoying move. I didn't notice this move before rook a8, and now I have a problem because if I want to be greedy and continue with rook d8, for example, still hoping that I will retake this knight back with the rook, she can play c5. If I push d5, she plays c6. She pushed the pawn, and I can't really stop it. So I decided to play queen g7, exchanging queens, and I put my all hopes in defending that rook endgame. And to be honest, I was doing pretty fine because I activated my king. So this is the most important role in endgames, just to activate your king because it also can take part into the game, and we can use it as our force. She was trying to improve it. Of course, the endgame should be lost anyway, but there was one critical moment in this position, and yeah, and it was this moment. This was the very last moment for her to take a deep breath and think how to correctly go for this position. Of course, it's not easy. It is so easy, especially when you have the stockfish turned on. But during the game, when you have 2 minutes left on the clock, uh, it's not so easy to take the correct decision. She played rook a8 with a normal idea of pushing the pawn, threatening me a check, and promoting the pawn to a queen. But this rook a8 move is already a mistake, thanks to a move I played in the game, because I knew that if I exchange these two kingside pawns for my kingside pawns, this one and only free pawn for white wouldn't achieve her dreams because it's not enough for her to win it. So after rook a8, I knew that I need to exchange one of these pawns. I played e4 move. She had to play rook h6, but there's a concrete variation. If I take the pawn on a4, there's an only move, which is g4. The idea is to put the rook on the f5, which makes my king to protect the pawn on e6, but the king is cut off along the f file, and now the king can easily go to g6. She can push g5, and then after some maneuvers, she can do even this bridge idea. Maybe I will show you that she transposed the king. For example, I am just waiting. She improves. This king f5. Yeah, she can even play g6. And even rook e6, rook e5. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. This position, this setup is actually winning because I can't go with my king to the king side, closer to the g4 pawn, and she can easily bring her king to the game. And as we could see in this variation, she can even win the pawn on e5. But she played rook e8. I exchanged one of the pawns. Fe4, king takes e4. This is really important that I needed to calculate one variation. After a5, king a5, a6, king g6. After a7, I need to be sure that I have king h7 or king g7, because after king f7, there is a typical idea: rook h8, rook a7, rook h7, and GG. After king g7, there is no such move, of course, because I protect the h8 square. So this is really important, and she also knew it. That's why she played king g3. But now I know that I need to just put the king on g7, and my rook needs to keep an eye on the a6 pawn. And this is everything I need to know. Also, if she goes with the king to further, I can take the pawn on g2, and with the pawn on a6, white can't make any progress because I come back to a2. So I knew that if I just wait and exchange these two pawns, the truth should become itself, She played g4, h3, king g3. Oh, yes, and I played rook e4. This defending this defending motive is called Vancura position. The Vancura position tells us that if the pawn is on the sixth file, so as we can see, the h pawn is on the sixth file. This is really important. This is the h pawn. This is on the h file, on the a file. It doesn't work with any other file. If the h pawn is on the sixth rank, we can actually attack the pawn from the horizontal way, like, standing not behind the pawn but next to the pawn in this way. I don't know how to say it, but you know what I mean. Not this one, but like this one. And this is really important because if I would keep the rook along this file, the king actually can come to b7, can come to a7, and now the rook can be free, and the pawn would easily promote. So that's why I played rook e4. After a7, now I come back to a4. Really important stuff, because now the king doesn't have this a7 square to cover, and if the king, if the king just goes to the pawn, I keep checking. And it's a draw position. So she played king f3, hoping that I would go rook a4, and now she can bring her king to a7. But after king f3, I play rook e6. Very important stuff. Very important stuff. And now if the king goes closer to the pawn, I just keep checking from this way. This horizontal, I don't know, horizontal maybe. This line. I keep checking via this line. Not along these lines, but this. This is a Vancura position, which is really important to know. And we played some moves and we agreed on a draw because, after rook e6, if she plays a7, now I come back to a6, go to a1, and just keep checking along these files. I hope you understand me. And that's how I defended this position. Well, if we review the whole game, I might be happy because I was losing at the majority part of the game, but then I managed to save it, and I am happy that I studied this end game, because then I knew how to defend this position. I knew this Vancura position, and then it was easy for me. Yeah, and this was the first day. This was the first round of today's game. Sorry, man. No chess, no chess right now. I am analyzing games. Uh, in round number in round number 8. So the second game of today, I played against my friend, my compatriot, Krzysztof Raczek. So we have crossed 2,000 kilometers, both from the same country, to play chess in Spain. Yeah, but sometimes such thing happens, and we just need to live with that. We played the Caro-Kann. He played this a6 move, which kind of surprised me, but I knew that such awaiting moves might be unpleasant, because I have to make some choice. If I develop the knight, he can pin this knight, play e6, and this bishop is well placed there. So I played c4, because after bishop f5, I was intending anyway to play c4, like I did in the game number 2 of this round. So c4, bishop f5, knight c3, e6, and there I played the move h4, because I couldn't really decide what to play. After knight f3, I was afraid that he will go anyway there, knight e7, knight f5, such idea exists. But I didn't like the move h3, because after h3 I didn't like c5, the direct strike in the center, and after knight f3, take on c4, bishop c4, b5. This was something I didn't really like. Yeah, but the engine says knight b5, sacrifice the piece. Of course, the life is easy. h4, h6, bishop d3. We played the normal. It was really normal position after the opening. I believe that both of the sides played pretty normal stuff. Knight b8, intending knight c6, so nice regrouping. Castle g3, blah 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 blah. We are still waiting, waiting, waiting. Now we will go for the first critical moment. At least it was a critical moment in my opinion, because as you can see, Black played pretty in a pretty good way. They doubled the rook on the c file. They make a pressure along the c file. The knight on a7 looks a little bit dubious, but that's why I played this move a4 to don't give him the possibility to put himself on the b5 square. So in order to make this knight even more passive, I played a move b5, but it was more a bluff than a calculation, because I didn't really knew what to do after ab5, knight takes b5. The only thing I was calculating there, or maybe the only two things, is bishop d2 and rook a5. After rook a5, there's a rook c3 move, knight c3, queen a5, knight b5. And I thought that I would go for such a position. I am pawn down, but I have some compensation. This knight is annoying. Maybe queen f3. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Maybe queen f3, queen f7. Maybe some knight d6 in the future. Well, I am pawn down, so this is not the best scenario I can imagine. The another variation is bishop d2, but after queen c6, in my opinion, black doesn't have any problems, even though the engine has rook b3 and probably with the intention rook b1, which makes sense. But yeah, b5 was anyway more a bluff than something serious. He played a5. After this move, I was really happy, because now I can put his pieces in some sort of a Zugzwang. Because as you can see, the queen can't really move because of b6. The rook can't really move because of bishop a5. This rook can go there, but it's passive. Bishop can go there, but it causes the communication of the bishop, and the knight is stuck there. So he played king e6, intending knight c6 move. So he wants to allow his knight to go back, and that's why I'm really happy of my next move, rook a3. It might look stupid, but the idea is to protect the rook and also to protect the a4 pawn. After rook a b1, rook a4 would happen, and I'm losing a pawn. So I played rook a3, rook a8, and queen h6. Now I knew that all my pieces are prepared to make an attack. He went bishop e7, queen h8, king d7. Tricky thing, but we need to calculate it pretty precisely if we want to go for this variation. After bishop f8, probably bishop d2, bishop h6, and rook f3, rook f7 ideas just end the story. King d7, queen a8, and rook c8. And it might seem that my queen is trapped, but bishop a5, it was the move that you needed to see. Queen a5, queen b7, queen a6, my queen escapes via e6. We chop pieces, we exchange something, and now I am 2 pawns up, but I need to convert it somehow, and it's not that easy because these pawns are doubled. This pawn is a weak because it might be easily attacked by this knight, and this pawn is not that strong if it's blocked by 2 potential pieces on this a file. So I just decided to just sacrifice these pawns in order to gain some activity. It's made perfect sense for me. Rook b7, king e8, knight c3, and after knight 6, knight b5. Now the material is equal, but my rook and the knight are really active, and I regain 1 pawn, then attack the second one, and then I make a pin, knight f4 and rook a4. This knight is pinned, so I limit the possibilities of black's pieces. Then I think I played quite accurately. I played knight f8, rook b6, knight f7. I repeated the position once, and I played this tricky move, king h3. I don't want to spoil any. I don't want to spoil anything, and he needs to play something. He could play rook c4, and I don't know what I have prepared for that, to be honest. But I was hoping that he will go for something like it happened in the game. He played knight c2. Of course, if he plays king g6, knight f8, king g7, I can take on e6, but even I can take on d4, knight d6, knight d4 check. Sorry, knight d6 check and get the free rook. So knight c2, I played knight f6. After rook f4, knight h5, knight f4, I am 2 pawns up and the winning endgame. King g6 and knight h5. And I am pretty happy that I found this tactics. King h5 and rook f6. And I sacrificed the rook, but his king is in a some sort of a mating net. After the move, I realized that there's rook g4 move, and I was a little bit scared that I blundered something that simple. Uh, but apparently, it is not simple at all. In the post analysis, we talked to each other. We told that rook e6 should be enough. Like I have these four pawns against this one poor pawn on d5. Of course, black has a piece, but they are still a side who needs to defend, the position. But the engine says the f3 is winning. And what's after rook g6? G4, king h6. Ah, and h5. So a really concrete way to play this position. Rook f6, gf6, and g5 in the next move. Okay. Yeah, so it's probably not that hard to find. Maybe if I had this position before on the board on my eyes, uh, maybe I would calculate it. Yeah, but anyway, I missed rook g4 and I was a little bit scared because the idea is to play f3 g4. Of course, so rook g4 stops, gives us an h6 square. But he played knight d1. This was the thing I saw, that I play f3 anyway, g4 in the air. Of course, no stalemate ideas because of this pawn on d5 and this pawn can still run, so no stalemate ideas are in the air. And yeah, this endgame is of course relatively easy to convert, but I just want to show you one thing. We just need to regroup pieces, put the king in the house in order to not get checked. Rook d7, nice way to progress. If king h6, then g5, rook g5, rook d6, and I get the rook. So king h8, and I still push the pawn, and put the king in the house. But now, we need to know how to convert this position, because now I can't give a check and g6 because this pawn is pinned. So I need to first put the rook on the fifth rank. This is really important. In order to put the king in his house again and push the pawn on g6. If he didn't play rook a8, for example, rook b5, I can just okay, there's a mate, but rook a rook a6, king f5, and I play rook e5 anyway, and then put the king in the house. So he played rook a8 immediately. Then I have rook e5, and then I have this beautiful idea I will show you. Now he needs to put. He just needs to stay. He just needs to stay and wait. Unfortunately, he played rook g8. After rook g8, I can win in many ways. G7, king h7, rook f8 is probably the easiest way. But I knew that I have this idea rook f8, which has been not maybe analyzed, but I've seen this in one chess magazine. This is the most beautiful way to convert this position with g and h pawns. Rook takes f8, g7, king g8. Of course, king h7 might be also a trap because you need to watch out. You have to promote the pawn for the light piece because queen or rook is a stalemate. So I would promote to a bishop, let's say, king g8, king g6, h7, h8, and gg. But he played king g8, and there is the whole point that I play king g6, and the beautiful position because he has the full rook, and he can't even give me a check, and h7 is the threat. He played rook h8 and h7, checkmate. Of course, this idea works not only with rook on g8. Yeah, it doesn't really matter if you go rook a8, still you can play rook f8. If he goes king g8, then I can play h7 and go for king h6. So, yeah, so two theoretical endgames. In the first endgame, I should know how to defend it. In the second one, I should know how to win it. And luckily, I did both of this. So, let's say so good so far. And yeah, 150 moves in total. So, exhausting day, probably around 8 hours or even above 8 hours. I played these two games. Tomorrow, the last round, this tournament. This tournament might end in a good way. I am playing against an Israeli grandmaster. I don't know where I would put. I know where, but I don't know when I would put this recap on YouTube. we will see. Maybe if I come back home, because I might not find a time to make it tomorrow. But it doesn't really matter for now. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you learned something interesting. Endgames, of course, doesn't occur that often in your games, most probably, but it is necessary to know some even basic endgames on the even on the basic level, just to be sure that if such happens, you will just know what to do. Thank you very much. Bye.